There's a door inside a temple in India that no one opens. Not because it's locked in the usual way, but because for over 1,000 years, people have agreed it should remain that way. Not out of convenience, not out of neglect, but out of something much stronger. Belief reinforced by history, and history reinforced by what people think might happen if that door is ever forced open. Inside Padmanabhaswamy Temple, deep beneath layers of stone and ritual, lies a chamber known simply as Vault B, a sealed space with no visible keyhole, no clear mechanism, and no official record of ever being opened in modern history. And that alone would be enough to spark curiosity. But this isn't just any sealed door, because in the same temple, other vaults have been opened, revealing unimaginable wealth. Gold, jewels, ancient artifacts, treasures so vast they reshaped the understanding of how much had been hidden there for centuries. And yet, even after discovering all of that, this one door remained untouched. Not because they couldn't break it, but because they chose not to. And that decision raises a different kind of question. Not what's inside, but why, after uncovering everything else, did they stop here? Because throughout history, when something is hidden, people don't leave it alone. They investigate, they force it open, they uncover what's behind it. That's human nature. But here, something interrupts that pattern. Something makes people hesitate, step back, and accept that some doors are not meant to be opened. To understand why this door matters, you have to understand what surrounds it. Padmanabhaswamy Temple is not just a place of worship. It's one of the oldest and most significant temples in India, dedicated to Vishnu, and for centuries it has been protected, maintained, and revered by royal families and devotees who believed this wasn't just a temple, but a sacred space tied to something far greater than wealth. Over generations, offerings were made: gold, jewels, coins, ornaments, each one placed into vaults beneath the temple, not as storage, but as devotion. And for most of modern history, those vaults remained closed, until recently. When authorities finally opened several of them, what they found wasn't just valuable, it was overwhelming. Billions of dollars worth of treasure, stacked, preserved, untouched by time in a way that almost didn't make sense. Ancient coins from different empires, gold statues, intricate jewelry, artifacts that connected centuries of history into a single place. And at that moment, the natural expectation was simple. If these vaults held this much, what could possibly be inside the one that remained sealed? But instead of pushing forward, they stopped. And that hesitation didn't come from lack of curiosity. It came from something else entirely, something rooted in belief, reinforced by local understanding, and strengthened by the idea that this particular door was never meant to be opened by human hands. Locals don't describe Vault B as locked. They describe it as protected. According to tradition, this chamber is said to be sealed by something called the Naga Bandham, a spiritual lock, not mechanical, believed to be placed through ancient rituals meant to protect what lies inside from being disturbed. And unlike ordinary locks, this one isn't meant to be broken. It's meant to be respected. Some believe it can only be opened through specific chants, spoken in a precise way, by someone who understands the ritual completely. And without that, forcing the door open is said to bring consequences. Not metaphorical consequences, real ones. Stories passed through generations speak of attempts, people who ignored warnings, who tried to interfere, and were met with resistance that couldn't be explained easily. Some accounts describe sudden misfortune, others describe events that halted efforts before they even began. And whether those stories are exaggerated or not, they all point in the same direction. This is not just a door, it's a boundary. And that belief is strong enough that even those who don't fully accept it still choose not to challenge it directly. Because when a story survives this long, across different generations, without being tested, it stops feeling like myth and starts feeling like something people quietly agree not to question. And this isn't just legend left untouched. There have been real moments where this door could have been opened. In 2011, when the Supreme Court of India ordered an inventory of the temple's assets, teams were sent to inspect the vaults, document everything, and bring clarity to what had been hidden for centuries. Several vaults were opened without issue, and what they found confirmed just how significant this place was. But when it came time to open Vault B, something changed. The process slowed, discussions intensified, and resistance began, not from the door itself, but from the people closest to it. Temple authorities, locals, and spiritual leaders strongly opposed the attempt, warning that opening it could disturb something that had been intentionally left sealed for generations. Legal debates followed, decisions were delayed, and eventually, the order to open the vault was not carried out. Not because it was impossible, but because the weight of belief combined with uncertainty was enough to stop it. And that moment is important, because it proves something very real. This wasn't a forgotten door. It was a door that was deliberately left closed, even when every legal and physical barrier could have been removed. So who is actually protecting this door? The answer isn't as simple as guards or security. It's layered. The temple itself is under strict protection, managed through a combination of religious authority, legal oversight, and cultural respect that makes interference extremely difficult. Access is controlled, movement is monitored, and decisions about the temple are not made casually. But beyond all of that, the strongest form of protection is not physical, it's collective agreement. The belief that this door should remain closed isn't enforced through force. It's enforced through acceptance, and that's far more effective. Because when people believe something shouldn't be disturbed, they don't try. And even those who question it often stop short of acting on that curiosity. That's what makes this different from other hidden places. It's not guarded by secrecy, it's guarded by restraint. And restraint, when shared across generations, becomes something incredibly difficult to break. Of course, not everyone accepts the spiritual explanation. Skeptics argue that Vault B remains closed for far more practical reasons: structural concerns, legal complications, and the risk of damaging something that has remained intact for centuries. Some believe the stories of curses and protection were amplified over time to discourage interference, to ensure that what was preserved stayed that way. And from that perspective, the decision not to open the vault becomes less mysterious and more strategic. But even then, one question remains. If this is purely practical, why not study it carefully, open it with modern methods, and finally confirm what's inside? Because in a world driven by discovery, leaving something unexplored is unusual. And yet, here, that's exactly what continues to happen. So what's really behind that door? Treasure? History? Something else entirely? The truth is, no one knows. And maybe that's what keeps the story alive. Because as long as the door remains closed, it becomes something more than just a physical object. It becomes a question. A question about belief, about limits, and about whether everything that can be opened should be. Because throughout history, humans have pushed boundaries, broken barriers, uncovered secrets, and yet, every once in a while, a place like this appears. Not hidden, not unreachable, but left alone. And when that happens, it forces a different kind of curiosity. Not what's inside, but why we're being told to stay out. And maybe, the fact that no one has opened this door in 1,000 years isn't a mystery waiting to be solved, but a decision waiting to be respected.